key part of the FIA Motorsport Games here at Vallelunga is the Touring Car Cup, and the field is getting set for what is going to be another spectacular race, no doubt. It is a circuit that is getting drier all the time here, and that means it is going to get more spectacular, no doubt, as the 30-minute plus 1 lap touring car action is about to get underway. Now, in terms of medals, the way this is going to decide is the points scored across 2 races. It's like a mini championship, if you like, and the field will be released onto the formation lap very shortly. 30 minutes plus 1 lap, and the cars all running to TCR regulations. Yesterday was certainly good fun. 1 or 2 people in strife, and it was a win for Russia, and we'll see how it all pans out today. First of all, though, let's have a look back at what happened in yesterday's race, which began where the lights were extinguished with a rather hesitant start from Rory Butcher's car, but the MG that was on the second row of the grid did charge away eventually, but sadly Rory's problems persisted and he ended up being an early retirement. It was Russia that took over the race lead, but one of the early best battles surrounded France, the Netherlands and Belgium, and it would all get quite brutal midway through the race. However, we lost Lithuania quite early on as Julius Adamavicius went off the road, the Golf bouncing its way back onto the circuit. Tom Coronel for the Netherlands all over the back of the France entry. For Belgium, Gilles Magnus arrived on the scene as well. Jean-Philippe in the Seat, just ahead of the now Honda and Audi battle. But we had an early safety car period, courtesy of Norway, with a damaged Alfa Romeo off the road. Everybody bunched up behind the safety car, and we get set to go again. Klim Gavrilov for Russia led away on the restart, being chased by Mato Homola, the Slovakia. Jessica Backman for Sweden, hustling through on the inside at turn 1 with her Hyundai, as then Belgium got involved with the Netherlands. Gilles Magnus on the inside of the hugely experienced Tom Coronel. They leant on each other at turn 11. Coronel was ahead just as they got through 12 and 13. But then it got really physical at turn 14. Gilles Magnus dived up the inside. Bang! That did for the suspension on Coronel's car. We all expected him to do a lap and retire. Not Tom Coronel. Despite that moment, he got the car home in 8th place. It was an outstanding effort. Other good drives came from New Zealander Fine Car here as he worked his way up into the top 6, getting ahead of Jessica Backman late in the race. But Klim Gavrilov it was that came through to take the checkered flag and to score a race win. Russia taking the maximum points and winning by very nearly 6 seconds. So the touring car grid is now formed based on time set in the second qualifying session. David Addison and John Watson trackside, and John, this promises to be another lively race, but it's going to be a longer race too.
And hopefully, please, not weather affected.
Because we've had quite a bit of weather-affected activity so far today. So, is it going to be another dominant display by Russia? Well, in this, they're only second on the grid. The nation that won yesterday. Belgium on pole position. There is the Russian car. And Gilles Magnus third in yesterday's race, fastest in Q2, and he is on pole position. Belgium has a team captain, and that is Bas Leinders, who is down on the grid with our reporter, Dakota Jane.
Nice to see you here this weekend. Now, you have a very difficult job this weekend being the captain. You've got to oversee everything. TCR seems quite a strong category for the Belgians.
Yes, as captain of Team Belgium, I have to run a little bit everywhere between the go-kart, slalom and TCR GT. But yeah, TCR is going very well. Yesterday he finished third in the first race. Now he's starting from pole position. So hopefully we can get a medal.
Now tell me a little bit about the Belgian driver development program. It seems to be quite a hot topic now.
Yeah, I mean, every year we organize some competition to elect some new upcoming drivers and give them the opportunity to start in racing. We do this with single-seaters, rallying and TCR. So, yeah, and I'm part of this since 10 years. So we brought Stoffel van Doorn to Formula 1 with McLaren. And hopefully we can see some new stars in the future.
What a fantastic program. Thank you very much. Good luck to Belgium.
Points, top 15 in race 2, so that is where people are going to want to be, but with Russia ahead already with a 7-point advantage, 25 points for a win yesterday, 30 today, and it's an 8-point difference between 1 and 2. You've really got to try and win both races or be ultra consistent and hope that others are not so. One good race, one bad might just equate to you having 2 solid results.
Well, the front row of the grid is what you might describe as solid. You can either say Russia or Belgium being the principal challenger. Tom Coronel, who we saw getting airborne coming through turn 14. just hovering there on the second row of the grid, never to be discounted. And then the rest of the field, well, I mentioned the weather. We've had that dominating pretty much all of today. Track conditions now better than they were for the Formula 4 cars that were out on track just some half an hour ago. And all I can hope for is clean start, good motor racing, loads of entertainment.
Tom Coronel of Team Netherlands was a real hero yesterday. He's with Dakota.
Tom, now this is some very cool racing. Get to racing for your home country, the Netherlands. How cool is that?
It's good. We're also here with 2 karters and 1 e-player. The kart ones from the Netherlands, they are in the final, so it's gold or silver. The e-racer, he finished P8. He had a spin. That's a pity. And yeah, now it's my task maybe to give us some points and to make Holland more proud.
Now, yesterday you had a really tough job. After we discussed that your steering was spent, how tough was it to drive the car?
Yeah, it was a pity. I got a soft coming together with Magnus in the last corner, so my steering wheel was, it was this angle. And my wheel was completely toe out, so I didn't have to steer at some corners, so automatically the car was going to the left. In the beginning I thought I had a flat tire, but then I thought I just keep on driving because points are important, so finally we finished P8. But now, good starting positions. Audi seems fast, but let's wait and see. Anything can happen. Also, we see some clouds around the track. So, for me, just let it rain in the middle of the race.
Oh, that's what we want. Well, let's see what happens. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tom Coronel said that. I laughed. John threw his hands to the heavens. You don't want it to rain, do you?
Well, I'd like to see another race in dry conditions all the way through, so as you can see a proper race. Let the racing drivers do what they do. Don't have it to some degree rain affected, and while there are good wet drivers, good dry drivers, really we want to see close racing on a dry track and discover which of these TCR drivers, these touring car drivers, is going to come out on top.
There's the Slovakian Hyundai, Mato Homola. He lines up for this second race, 4th on the grid. Tom Coronel, you've just heard from, is 3rd. The back of the grid is where you find Germany. Luca Engstler, who was many people's tip to win this, had a fastest time in the first qualifying session, and then the engine blew, so an engine change put him to the back of the grid for yesterday's race, and he missed the second qualifying session for this grid, so he's at the back for that. But he couldn't get into yesterday's race because the engine wasn't changed in time, so it has just completely crumbled around him. He's got to win this race and hope that others have problems, having scored well yesterday, but it's going to be a big ask up from 19th on the grid. However, we know that Engstler is good. He's going to be worth watching.
It's going to be more difficult than a big ask. These touring cars, again, so evenly matched. There's no give or take. Everybody will fight tooth and nail for their position. So for Engstler to make his way up through the grid, okay, on the opening lap, getting past some of the cars that are immediately around him, which he would inherently be quicker than, that's fine. But further you go up the field, the more difficult it will become. And as we've seen, even on a circuit where overtaking is possible, with such evenly matched race cars, be it single-seaters, GTs or touring cars, either you take a big punt and hope you get away with it, or you just have to think about it and maybe just work on that car and force that driver into making an error.
There's the all-black Audi of Fane Kahir, and let's catch up next with Enrico Betra from Team Italy.
Oggi sì, molto difficile gara. Tu pensi che sia più agio?
Con queste condizioni ora sono da asciutto, ci sono solo 2 curve bagnate, che è la Roma e la chicane che dà la Roma, poi per tutto il resto della pista è asciutto, dunque dovremo fare molta attenzione in queste 2 curve. La manifestazione è strepitosa, siamo qua a divertirci.
He said, in my best Italian, if it's wet, it's going to be very difficult on the track. He's going to have to pay very much attention. It's going to be a very, very difficult race for you. I hope you do very bocca al lupo. Good luck. Good luck. Thank you.
Snazzy crash helmet Enrico Betra has, and on home soil we've just had a gold medal, in fact won by Italy, and they got a bronze in the Digital Cup last night, so Italy looking good on the medals table. Betra is 11th, no he's not, he's 9th, forgive me, on the grid for this race, so the Audi, which is a quick car, could be worth watching here. So again, cars in the colours of their nations all the way down the grid, and the fans getting themselves ready. 30 minutes plus a lap. It's a long race, really, in touring car terms. Yesterday's, yeah, we had drama, but it wasn't the crash fest that some people might have expected.
No, and I suppose following touring cars on a global basis, certainly in the UK, that's the name of the game. You're not meant to crash into one another, but it seems to be something that is given a role within the show. But fortunately, we haven't seen that so far here this weekend in these TCR touring cars. And I prefer not to see it. I want to see clean, hard racing rather than, you know, jokers throwing in, you know, slam, dunk, whatever.
We'll see whether we get to that point, because now it's pressure on as we go racing. Now, from the British Touring Car Championship, Rory Butcher is representing the UK.
Rory, yesterday was not your day, but today could be your day. This is a bit of English weather like we're used to.
Yeah, it certainly is. We had a really tough race yesterday. Starting off P3, it was quite exciting for all the team and the fact it's a new car. However, we had some issues, technical problems, and ended up having to box. But yeah, I like these conditions. We just have to see how it goes. The field is pretty tough, so but I'll be fighting as hard as I can.
And did you fix the technical issues from yesterday?
Yeah, they were actually quite. We knew what they were, and we've put them back to where they should be. And I could just tell on outlap that everything was fixed again. So very happy.
Good stuff. Fly the flag, proud. Thank you.
Rory Butcher then, who is 10th on the grid, independent champion in the British Touring Car Championship this year, and the team for whom he drives, AMD, Sean Hollenby's team, Sean here, is the independent teams champion. So it's been a good season in the older spec Honda. But Rory now driving a type of touring car, an MG6. Well, he's driven one of those before, but never TCR specification car. So it's another step into the unknown. There's a TCR regular, be it in International Series or in the World Touring Car Championship of the years past. Now John Philippi, the French driver, and he's going to be a front runner, one would expect, as well in the Seat that he switched to towards the back end of the season. He will go from 7th on the grid. The other nice thing about this, John, is that you're looking at cars on pace. They've not got, for example, an option tyre or success ballast to shuffle the order. You're seeing who is quick and who's not so quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strictly governed formula. It's a spec tyre in a sense. Everybody will be on the dry spec. Is it Yokohama tyre?
Yeah.
Which is a very good tyre. Again, run down into turn 4. Opening lap. Surely will be exciting. There'll be a bit of jockeying for position, but it's getting off the line quickly and cleanly for this front row grid. Gil Magnus for Belgium. Klim Garolov for Russia. An Audi versus an Audi. So there's not a lot to pick and choose between those two cars off the grid.
And so the grid is starting now to clear. We will be underway shortly as the grid boards are taken away. That's the view from Jessica Backman, the Swedish entrant, who is 6th on the grid. Other on board we have with Tom Coronel, who lines up 3rd for this 20-car race. Luca Engschler then from the back row of the grid has just got to go like Sting, hasn't he?
I mean, he can only do so much. As I mentioned, he can get through the slower cars that are there on performance. He is out of position on performance. So those will be cars he'll pick up on the opening lap. I would imagine maybe get 4 or 5 of them if he finds a way through cleanly and avoids unexpected moves from cars that are not aware of that fast car wanting to make progress so early. But as you get near to the front of the field, then everything becomes more difficult. His biggest hope possibly is that if there is a full course yellow or a safety car intervention, that will keep the pack contained. It'll not let this front row of the grid or 2 rows of the grid get away. That's got to be his worst fear. So he'll be praying for something which is beyond the control of anybody on the grid right now, albeit either through weather or through an incident where we have to have a full course yellow.
1 minute to go to the start of race 2 for the Touring Car Cup at the FIA Motorsport Games. Belgium on pole position, Russia alongside. Russia leads Slovakia, leads Belgium on points. So Belgium 3rd, Russia leads, and there's 10 points between them. So again, really, Belgium just got to win this race. That's absolutely crucial. Even though it's virtually dry, a wet track has been declared in order to give the onus on the tyre choice to the teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's standard fare as it is in motorsport these days. Unless it's a blisteringly hot Sahara-type day, very often it's declared a wet track, and then it's down to the individual teams, drivers. What are they going to do? They're going to roll the dice. But right now, in these conditions, if anybody's in wet, I would be surprised.
Well, we saw the Formula 4 cars, half an hour ago, with the road virtually dry at the end of them. We've had no more rain. So the 15-second board shown. The race director, Miroslav Bartos, will in a moment give the call to release the cars. I'll have 1 formation lap, and then we will be in business. It's 30 minutes plus a lap, so it is a long time to look after the rubber.
30 minutes plus a lap. A long time.
Yep.
What school have you come from, David?
Touring car racing, John.
Oh, for two. Oh, I see.
Which is what we're having.
Oh, I
so
see.
away they go.
The poor little dears can't do more than half an hour.
No, I was thinking of the tyres.
Well, they've got to look after their tyres. That's part of the name of being a racing driver.
Through turn 2 goes Jim Carto in his Honda. There is the British car, the British representation, Rory Butcher, the Scottish driver. Father, of course, Derek Butcher, the owner of the Knock Hill circuit. And there is Luca Engschler, also from good racing stock. And the Spanish entrant, Gonzalo de Andres. He's had a bit of a torrid time, missed the first race as well. The car had a brake issue which caused him to stop trackside in qualifying because he had caused a red flag, so he lost his best lap time. The officials were happy to say, no, it wasn't an error, it was a brake issue, technical problem that caused him to stop, so we shouldn't delete his lap time. So that was the good news. Trouble was, they then got done for breaching Parc Fermé regulations, and he was excluded from qualifying after all that and put to the back of the grid. So
why
it's
does
not your day, it's not your day.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, with the growth of motorsport and the intensity of competition, that is the byproduct of it. It has to be run very, very strictly in a day or two.
And a spin in the
yes, I
background.
saw that, yeah.
So
Not the Golf. I think it might have been the VW Golf.
let's have no, it was wrong livery for the Golf. It was, I thought, Mason Filippi, but I'll come back to that in a second. The American driver, it looked like, might have had a rotation. Belgium and Russia on row 1, Netherlands, Slovakia, row 2, New Zealand, Sweden, the 3rd row, the 4th row, France and Hong Kong, the 5th row, there, Italy, Great Britain. Then should be Mason Filippi for the USA, if he has survived. It might have been him that had that spin. Or the Czech Republic, because the cars are similar liveries. They would have been on the 6th row. Row 7 is Hungary and Norway. Row 8 is China and Lithuania. The 9th row is Latvia and Kuwait. And the 10th row, Germany and Spain. So there is France going through. That is John Filippi. Look back behind, you've got Hong Kong, then Italy, Great Britain, and then it is the Czech Republic. So it was the USA that has had the spin on this formation now, out of the back of the shot.
Unnecessary, I would have thought, but indicative that still there are parts of the racetrack that are damp enough on a set of slick tyres, and is that rain or not falling?
Start delayed. Now this might be because that car has not got going again. So the start is delayed because of Mason Filippi, I fear, having a spin, and maybe the car is stranded.
Or is it raining again?
No one's got the wiper on.
I wasn't sure if there was rain beginning to fall. Certainly a delayed start, so we have to wait, and then there'll be a further formation lap to let the slot get away again. But will that then count as a lap? Second lap? We've done one lap.
Well, they should then end up having to affect the race duration by taking, say, 2 minutes off the 30. You still get your regulation lap. So the gap on the grid is where the USA car is. Hopefully, it's not too awkward a place for it to be moved from. But the start is delayed, and that's why we are delayed. How do you do that on a formation lap?
Don't ask me. The answer I would give would not be complimentary.
Right, Mason Filippi, I'm afraid the American driver has blotted his copybook there, assuming that he did it on his own. He might have had a bit of help. However, start delayed, and you can see why.
So that's going to take a period to get a recovery vehicle there, get it recovered, get it back. So probably another minimum 5-8 minutes delay. Well buried indeed. The Hyundai, it has not improved the look of the Hyundai, that's for sure. Now the damage to the front, is that because he went into the sand trap, or was that because he hit something and then went into the sand trap?
Good question. Good question. So they're going to have to go around again. The race director will quickly consult his regulations, and he might feel that they have enough fuel in to still do another formation lap and 30 minutes plus a lap. He may take it off the race duration. We'll await confirmation. So Gilles Magnus then, getting ever tenser, sits on pole position. Then the marshals go to work with a red-faced Mason Filippi, runner in the American TCR series this year.
I suppose the tow point at the front of the car is buried in the sand. That's why they're having to loop it through the front wheel and front suspension to try and lift it up to get it out of the... Let's have a look and see. Here we go.
Does he do it on his own? It was at the back of the shot that I saw it suddenly loop. There he is.
Looked like it was on his own to me.
It does, doesn't it? Because there's nobody around.
And I mean, that's the exit of turn 5 into the kink of 6. 6 is in the corner.
But he then goes across the road into the gravel, so very odd. That's not helping it either. That bodywork's just going to get chewed up, isn't it? So he's had outside assistance. He should not be able to take the start of the race. Had he been able to drive back himself, possibly, but not to be towed out of the gravel. So that's him done.
I think it's irrelevant. The damage to the car is greater than the time would be available to repair it. So that is race over for Mason Felipe. Disappointing.
Absolutely.
Hard to tell. Do you think he got punted from, or it looked to me like he was on his own?
It seemed to be, yeah.
Didn't see anybody around him, and that was on the exit of 5 before the curve of 6.
So we have the grid formed. Any temperature they got in the tyres will have long since dissipated, so they're going to have another formation lap.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's going to be a 5 minutes countdown as well. So the race director takes charge, and the 5-minute countdown will be at 13:26, and it's 13:21 now. So again, this is an FIA rule that you have to go through a countdown. You can't say, right, we're clear, 30-second board, off you go. You have to go through the process.
And of course, one would assume, whether you're a touring car driver or any other driver, there's right front suspension looks like it's been damaged as well.
Yeah.
That when you are on your parade lap, you are not going to have an incident, as we've just seen the consequences of. And you'd come onto the grid in formation, having done everything as required, and then this race should have been underway some 5-6 minutes ago. Mason Felipe walks away, obviously disappointed.
Yeah. If that suspension has broken, it could be that there was contact with somebody alongside him. We might hear more about that during the course of proceedings. Maybe Dakota can go and have a word with him when he gets back to the pit lane. But very disappointing for Mason Felipe. Much travel to come and race here this weekend.
Yep, a long way from the United States.
Now look, Clinton Gavrilov's car being looked at by the mechanics. When we last saw the car before the first formation lap, he was just jigging the wheel.
Absolutely, he was just turning the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And why would you want to do that? The car's stationary, so you're not going to put heat into one contact patch on the tyre and assume that's going to heat the tyre up. So he has something that in the back of his mind isn't feeling as he would like it to feel. And that, I noticed that little wiggle on the steering wheel as well. Didn't know whether it was just maybe nervous. Maybe he was a bit nervous.
Well, clearly for the mechanics to be called forward, he is not easy about something, and he's had another lap now to get a feel for it, and he's decided, no, I can't necessarily just put it out of my mind. I want to talk to somebody about it.
Well, everybody, those that were looking at the car have all left. It's just the one team member who is standing with Garilov. Nothing. I think it may just be a bit of tension, nothing more than that.
Well, Klim Gavrilov, the 19-year-old in his first year of car racing, did a splendid job yesterday, no question about it. 3-minute board. The klaxon sound. Belgium on pole position. So really, Magnus needs to win this for Belgium and hope that a couple of cars can get between him and Gavrilov to take points away from Russia. Remember, what you're looking at really here is a 2-race championship to determine the medals. The ever loquacious Tom Coronel.
He would qualify now as a seniors racing driver. When you've got a 19-year-old just to your left in the front of the grid. So the Honda, magnificent in its multi-sponsored livery.
I think it's a Dutch cheese that advertises on the front flanks of the car. If you have a look close,
It's got a sausage sponsor as well.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's
more like a sort of a Frankfurter type sausage.
Right.
Not a good English banger.
It's not banger racing.
I know you
either.
like banger racing.
Yeah, quite.
That's why I thought maybe you might see the iron in.
28 minutes plus the lap will be the duration.
So it's been reduced by one, in effect, 1 lap.
Yeah. There is Tom Coronel, the Dutch driver. Good to go. Hugely experienced. Single-seaters, sports cars, touring cars. Yeah, there's all the sponsorship on the front of the car.
David, he's a watch sponsor as well.
That's right. That's right. We need to go and befriend him. And the sausages and cheese on the crash helmet as well. The car run by the Boots and Gignon team, as you can see. And whereas we had all the cars run centrally within F4, for touring cars, of course, it's regular TCR teams operating the cars, often for their regular drivers, sometimes not. So, the clock ticks, and we should be with the 1-minute board any second, actually. The marshal is there at the front. The instruction will come any moment. And then at the 1-minute board, engines will fire up. Cars shortly will be released. our second Touring Car Cup race of the weekend. We'll try again to see whether we can get it underway. Belgium, Russia at the front of the grid. Netherlands on row 2 with Slovakia. New Zealand, fine car here, did a fine job yesterday, didn't he, to get himself into contention, charged up the order. And then Jessica Bachmann, also impressive yesterday, lining up 6th on the grid. I still want to see what we can get out of Luca Engschler, because even if he can't win the tournament, he's going to go and try and get onto a race podium into the top 3.
All right, he's starting at the back of the field. I reckon he's going to make up 5 positions, so he should be coming through in about 14th or 15th place at the end of the first lap.
I was going to offer
That
you
would,
6.
as a driver of his ability and talent, with the equipment he's got, that would be what I would imagine, other than we have a confused or a messy opening lap.
Norbert Kish with the Alfa Romeo with a gap ahead of him on the grid where Mason Filippi ain't. Green flag wave, everybody sets off. Enrico Becker a little bit slow away in the multicoloured Audi. And now the 2 Alfas together there. Look, Norbert Kish in the older car, the red bonneted one of Norway of Christian Seidler, and that's the newer Veloci spec, if you like, the Evo version. And a turn 2, the Curva Grande they turn. Rory Butcher in the MG, brother-in-law Gordon Shedden, of course, has been in the WTCR these last couple of seasons. Did a win last year. And there is the Q80 entrant going through, which is Salem Al-Nusif. We've seen his brother in F4. At the back for Spain is Gonzalo de Andres with the sole Peugeot on the grid.
So it should be reasonably easy to see Enschler's progress, because the distinctive sort of pastel colours that Hyundai use in their logos, picking it up in the midst of the tail of the field.
Spain being told to switch the lights of the car on. So Gonzalo Andres, who has been a Spanish Fiat Punto champion, Hyundai Cup champion, Peugeot champion, being told the lights must be on what is becoming a bit grey again here at Vallelunga.
Yeah, it does look as if there's a bit of cloud coming over. We can't see it from this shot. And when these pulses of rain have been coming in, they've been coming in pretty quickly and pretty heavily. There is our friend Luca Engschler.
German flag on the roof. Son of Franz Engschler, himself a regular in touring cars, up to the World Touring Car Championship as a privateer for many, many seasons. But Luca Engschler, again, only 19 years of age, the former TCR Asia and Middle East champion. He is a double Asia champ, 18 and 19, 2018 Middle East champion, and racing in TCR Europe this season past. There is Mato Homola's Hyundai, the Audi going through the S3 of Frank Kahia, and there is another of the Hyundais, that of Jessica Bachmann, the Swedish entrant. So, heading to turn 14, that's where Tom Coronel had his moment in the race yesterday with Gilles Magnus. The race officials looked at it and said, nah, it's touring car racing, battle on. So Gilles Magnus needs a good start, but he also needs others to try to get between him and Russia. Klim Gavrilov represents Russia. There for Belgium, Gilles Magnus now slots into pole position. 30 minutes plus a lap becomes 28 minutes plus a lap as Salem Al-Nusif for Q8 heads to the grid. So can Gilles Magnus control this from the front? Let us see. 30 points for the win. It was the number of points to match the time, of course, the best laid plans and all that. We're now 28 minutes, plus the regulation lap at the end as into position forms Spain at the back, with namely Gonzalo de Andres. The officials are there with the green flag, and so race 2 for the Touring Car Cup within the FIA Motorsport Games set to get underway. Lights out, we go racing. Who makes the best start? Bad start by Better, a good start by Russia, but Belgium is ahead. Italy doesn't get away at all, and they power down towards turn 1 with Belgium. Gilles Magnus just in the lead, and good start by New Zealand. Look, going up on the inside of a slow starting Netherlands. Tom Coronel goes backwards. So right now Coronel is on the back foot as he tries to gain ground down towards turn 4, turning into the corner, but a really good getaway by Belgium.
Yeah, New Zealand runs very wide, gets tagged.
Safety car. Safety car deployed straight away, and that's the reason, because Betra didn't get away, and Betra has been battered.
He's been battered on the left rear corner. heavy bodywork, and that left rear corner is broken. So literally within the space of probably about, well, they maybe didn't even better and may not even. And then also, what has happened to the man that we were going to watch? I thought he would come round in 15th place. How wrong was I?
He's obviously caught the back of the stranded Italian entrant, hasn't he? As everybody else jinked either left or right to avoid the stationary car. Engschler, when it's not your weekend, it's not your weekend. He's just glanced off. He probably saw him at the last moment, jinked, but didn't swerve enough. We'll try and get a replay, but you've got to feel for Luca Engschler and for the team after all the hard work to do an engine change and to get the car onto the grid. Right, well, that's Germany gone and that's Italy gone.
Yeah, it resolves one sort of on one part of the race that we were going to have a focus on. There is, anyway, he's hobbling.
Yeah,
he may have gotten an ankle when he hit. Damage. Yeah, you can see having a look at it. So I'd like to have a look at the replay because Enrico Patera was midway in the grid, and midway in the grid, he was on the 5th row of the grid. So whatever the pace that Engschler would have been doing would have been 50, 60 mile an hour at least.
So Bettera's car we'd seen was barely moving, and cars come through the pit lane. Because the incident's on the pit straight and it needs clearing, you can use the pit lane as part of the circuit rather than stop the race, but it's ripped a wheel off Engschler's car.
Absolutely.
So the race director with no option but A, to interrupt the race, and B, to get this mess cleared up. So the cars come down the pits straight but through the pit lane to keep the race going.
And the clock is going as well. The clock doesn't stop, as we saw yesterday when we had a red flag. So the clock is continuing to count down. So how long is it going to take to clear 2 cars? Another 10 minutes, arguably, by the time they get the recovery vehicles. They're just very close. In fact, there they are, pit lane exit for one of those recovery vehicles. I don't know whether the Audi is actually pushable. I think it might be. Yeah. But the Hyundai certainly will need a recovery vehicle. You can't do anything until everybody's filtered through the pit lane. Now the recovery vehicle ought to be able to. There's one more coming through, rather stragglers. Oh, here they are. There really are stragglers, aren't they?
Yeah, it's going to be Spain as the last car through. And you've got Hungary back on track there. Norbert Kish has just come through. And still they come out of the pit lane. 1 or 2 possibly thinking, why are we going into the pit lane? Are we stopping? But no, the race carries on. But you're using the pit lane as part of the racetrack so that the officials can clear the pit straight. So,
unfortunate start.
It is. Belgium leads the way, Russia second and Slovakia third, New Zealand fourth. Fein Kahir doing an absolutely cracking job this weekend.
I think actually he should be grateful for the yellow flag because he was about to be mothered. He was way, way high up between 4 and 5 and looking like he might be at the point of, so that may well have saved New Zealand, having made a bit of a brave move down into turn 4 from maybe being compromised on the exit of 5. Here we go again.
Now, have a look up against the pit wall, because from about 5 rows back, look, Bettera barely gets away. Others jink round him, and Engschler just at the last moment tries to swerve, but clips him.
Yeah, and those extended guards on these touring cars, very, very much wider than the actual body itself.
This is Jessica Batman's view. Incident behind, so she's unaffected by it all. That's Jean-Philippe ahead.
Keep an eye on the black car that just you see it getting into turn 2, 2 cars ahead of the ones we're looking at. It gets down into turn 4 and then late in the brakes runs way high up. That's
what I mean, yes.
Just about got it back.
And this is how Tom Coronel didn't get off the line quite so well.
Sort of anticipated the start, then had to react and then got it going again. At which time he had lost the benefit of being on the 2nd row of the grid, and the Hyundai of Hamola comes through in there. But New Zealand just absolutely pours through, no problem whatsoever. Good start indeed.
Those Audi S3s are quick cars, aren't they?
S3s.
Yep.
Yeah, they're a good car.
So that's what, 3 at the top.
Here we go.
4.
Here we go. Got the tap. Got the tap from Tom Coronel.
So 3 Audi S3s in the top 4 on that opening lap. That is Enrico Bettera out of the race. He was a bit sluggish on those formation laps. You saw the yellow flags being waved by the marshals, but sad to say, when it really counted, he was even worse away, and then getting that whack from Engschler. So now they can use the pit straight, because the debris is clear.
And the idea, I'm assuming, has been pushed back. There it is in the pit lane, so it's out of the way safely. It'll then get assuming at some point get pushed back into the paddock and sadly put into the truck with a damaged rear on it.
Huge disappointment for local hero Enrico Bettora. So we've had a bronze for Italy and a gold for Italy in 2 different disciplines in the motorsport games. Germany has had a silver, but nothing from touring cars, clearly. So then, all of this eats into the 28 minutes as the car of Belgium leads the way then from Russia, from Slovakia, New Zealand 4th, Holland or the Netherlands if you prefer 5th, France 6th, Sweden 7th. Then you've got Hong Kong 8th, 9th is the Czech Republic and 10th is Hungary. Britain's Rory Butcher is 11th. Then you've got China, Lithuania, Latvia, Norway, Q8, Spain. 17 nations still circulating.
So it's 3 Audis, 2 Hyundais and Tom Coronel in the middle of the top 6 in the Honda.
That's right, Robert Kish out for 3, the MG of Rory Butcher, the other MG behind there you see of Ming Zhongjiang. Sarah Musif and Gonzalo Danvers at the back of the pack. So this is going to really eat into the best part of the first third of the race, isn't it?
21 minutes remaining, and I'm assuming it'll be this lap and one more under the safety car. We're not seeing anything indicating the safety car will be in at the end of this lap.
Through the paperclip into turn 10, wriggles you around. There is the sorry sight of Luca Angela's car. He was helping the mechanics do the engine change, got behind the wheel of it, and then the race over before it had begun virtually. You got further than Mason Philippi, but there was no consolation whatsoever. The event as a whole, John, has been a big hit, though, hasn't it? It's a shame we've got the safety car period for the touring cars, but it's been a great weekend.
I think the mix of the on-track activities, there's been other activities off-track, digital karting, the event you were involved. I couldn't quite get my head around. What do you call it?
Drifting.
Drifting, yes. So, and there are many other elements of motorsport that maybe in the future could be considered for incorporation. The thing that I've enjoyed, I suppose, up to date, is actually that last single-seater race, the Formula 4. I thought that was cracking. I love seeing, junior drivers in pretty straightforward, uncomplicated single-seater racing cars. Most pure form of racing there is.
So over the timing line they all come. That puts 3 laps in the book. We haven't had a full racing lap yet.
No. Hopefully they'll get the recovery vehicle. As we saw in the Formula, was it the Formula 4 race or the GT race where they slowed it down?
Oh, the F4 race.
F4 race, they slowed it down to almost a walking pace. So maybe the safety car likewise will slow down to a walking pace to allow the recovery vehicle. It only has to just get across the other side of the racetrack to get into the pit lane, and then the track will be cleared to return the safety car to its station.
Bruno Correa is the safety car driver, regular FIA safety car driver, WTCR.
He's going to have to make a couple of cuts to get in here, or he's done it.
That's proper lock, that is.
Absolute good driving on that. That recovery vehicle driver, he's done a good job.
He's done that before, hasn't he?
He probably has.
Right then, track's clear. So, can we get the cars released this time? Safety car has slowed the pack, hasn't it? So, we might be going for a start here.
Well, I think that was a good move if they did let this race get underway. We've only got 18 minutes to 30 seconds.
Safety car in
this lap, indeed. So no problem for the tyres now.
Absolutely not.
18 minutes and 29 seconds. Well, it'll be 17 minutes probably in 29 seconds by the time they get back to start-finish line.
The risk of using a BTCC line, safety cars breed safety cars, so we've got them all bunched up again. They've got less time in which to do their overtaking. Let's see what kicks off on the restart. Belgium leads the way, Gavrilov second for Russia.
But this time it's a rolling start, as opposed to the standing start. So the advantage must be with Gilles Magnus, simply because he's the car that's going to dictate the pace of that restart. Nobody can overtake until they cross the start-finish line. So no matter how good your restart is, if you're behind another car, you can't pass until you get across that start-finish line.
Into turn 11 they come. Gavrilov is on his toes, ready to go. So is Hommler, so is Kahir. What about Tom Coronel then? The safety car will come out of turn 13. It peels for the pit lane. We will go green at the end of this lap race. Back on. It's going to be 17 minutes plus the regulation lap at the end, effectively, when they get to the timing line. Here they come then. And the race leader for Belgium, Gilles Magnus, then accelerates into the corner. We will go racing once more. Can Gavrilov bolt away and go with him? John Philippi through there, the French driver, keeping at bay Sweden's Jessica Backman. Green flag is waved on the start line. We are back racing and the leaders go through. Belgium just ahead then of Russia by half a second as they go down towards the Curva Grande. Homela for Slovakia dropping back a little bit.
But Fane Kahya, he's the New Zealand, looked very aggressive on the opening lap. Looks aggressive. Rain falling again. Watch down the inside, the black Audi.
He's off the road, isn't he? And New Zealand comes back and goes off the road completely. That is New Zealand in the gravel. Lucky not to harpoon anybody, but that was a high speed off.
Well, I told you he was aggressive. I didn't mean that aggressive.
He's going to bog down, and that could be another safety car because that is beach. Here they come with the rain starting to fall up towards turn 7. Gilles Magnus for Belgium leads the way. Gavrilov for Russia second, right on his tail. Through they turn, and here is the replay. Now have a look. Kahya runs out of road.
Lost the back of it, and it's all the way down. No control. He can't touch the brakes. He can barely touch the steering because nothing is going to work. He's got the brakes locked. But, I mean, that was just a passenger sitting there. Where? Who am I going to hit? Can I hit? He got through the pack without any contact. That's a big result for New Zealand today.
Not to have any damage, absolutely. They might be out of the race, but the car's looking like a car still. Here are the leaders then, and it is Belgium versus Russia. So as they come now up towards turn 11, it's advantage Russia at the moment. You would see with a win of the third, and also Gavrilov a little bit quicker out of 11, but he's up the curb. He's got the wipers on as the spots of rain start to fall here.
You have to say that Gavrilov looks the more comfortable of the two lead cars at the moment. Tom Coronel likewise putting a bit of heat on the back of Slovakia. Homela coming up into turn 14. Rain falling, and it's only beginning. It's going to fall more. Around the outside, Tom Coronel, you're a star.
Round he goes, great move, all of that experience. Tom Coronel gains the place then. Over the timing line he goes, and that puts him up into third position. And a big slide by Gavrilov. The Russian car snaps sideways, going through the Curva Grande there. So Gavrilov hustling on. He's trying to close on Gilles Magnus. Yellow flags wave at turn 4 because in the gravel, of course, is New Zealand. But Gavrilov has slowed right down, partly because of his moment, partly because of the yellows. Some, I think, are thinking that might be a safety car. Some are thinking it's a bit slippery and I need to lift off. And all of a sudden, we've got pockets of cars. But look at Coronel round the outside. Move of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Great move. Well thought out, executed. Knew there was grip out there, even though you could see the rain on the windscreen. So Homola was being cautious. Tom Coronel thought, I'll go the long way. There is grip out there. I've got the momentum. A little bit of contact. You could see the movement of the steering wheel. But he's taken that third place away as the rain is, again, is still manageable on these slick tyres. But
that is Coronel ahead of Gavrilov. Now this is bad news for Russia for the points. Gavrilov squeezed off the road. Fights back, retakes his second place. Magnus for the race lead is getting away, but Gavrilov is really struggling. Now remember, we saw him on the grid, concerned seemingly about the handling of the car. Now, with the conditions changing, he is really struggling. He's lost chunks of time to Belgium, and he's got Coronel from the Netherlands all over the back of him.
And there's a loss of confidence where he has a technical issue, but Tom Coronel certainly has got the wind in his sails. He sees an opportunity to put himself at the earliest opportunity, his Honda, up into second place. As we see that Gilles Magnussen just driving away from the field. He was 0.6 of a second ahead when they came across the line. The last lap is going to be almost 6 seconds by the time across start-finish line.
So here they come then, as towards the line now will be the second, third, fourth battle pack. If Coronel can get past Gavrilov, that's good for the other Benelux nation at the head of the queue because it's taking points off Russia. Coronel absolutely on the edge.
Yeah, but you're seeing he's having to brake. He can't even go through the corner without a trailing throttle. So back down to this double wave yellow flag. Slow down. Coronel's looking for ground up the high side, looking to go around the inside. He's got the momentum, and Garrett, look at that. Struggling, whether his car, whatever the setup of his car is, he has just lost total momentum.
Replay on board with Coronel. Rattling over the curb, getting sideways. That was a big, big rattle over the curb.
Yeah, it doesn't do your rear suspension very much good. Oh, look at Coronel, how sideways he got as a having get off the throttle and back on it again.
So there's the leader. Belgium is ahead at the start of this lap. It was already 3.8 seconds. Magnus to Gavrilov. Russia second, Netherlands third, Slovakia fourth. Fifth is now France, ahead of in sixth place Great Britain. Rory Butcher, revelling in almost Knockhill-esque conditions, up into the top 6, and he might yet gain further ground as the field comes into turn 10 here. Gavrilov is under attack now. Where does Coronel make the next move? Can he lunge up the inside going down towards turn 11? Look to the pit lane, that's the Czech Republic, but what's going out on track? Coronel all over the back of Gavrilov, the Russian car. No, couldn't get through.
No, Gavrilov looks like he's got his composure back. He had a one bad lap, that allowed these two following cars to get right onto his tail. He seems now to find a deep breath, and he's beginning to pull away fractionally from Tom Coronel. His sights are again going to be back on the rear of the Gilles Magnus in the Belgium Audi.
Look at him, he's on his own. Belgium through. Big wait before you get Russia second, Netherlands third, Slovakia fourth then. It's the Audis 1-2, Honda 3, Hyundai fourth, and actually Mato Homola now is dropping back just a little. In fifth place, look, is France Jean-Philippe, and Rory Butcher in sixth place is back into the race there. Look comes the Czech Republic car a lap down.
Yeah, and having to stay out of the way of the field, we're running at a much higher speed as they...
Is that the Czech Republic? Yes. You've also got, just looking at this now, an absolute best last sector by Gavrilov last time. That's Rory Butcher up a place. So Britain has just got ahead of France. That puts Great Britain into fifth spot. And look at the way the MG is going. Rory Butcher here is on an absolute mission.
Well, I mean, he comes from a part of Great Britain where these conditions are probably the norm. He's familiar with racing in them, and he's doing a strong job. Disappointment from the start yesterday when the car just didn't get off the grid, but now he's got the momentum. He's one of the few people in this race who's making progress.
Yes, up in Scotland they have a special term, don't they, for wet, squally conditions. It's known as Wednesday. Coming out of turn 9 then, the MG, Rory Butcher charging away if he can from Jean-Philippe from France. Magnus for Belgium has done the fastest lap of the race, and Rory Butcher absolutely on it.
He looks like he's in a different race.
Yeah.
He's found grip, he's got a car working, he's able to use the racetrack, and he's carrying speed. That was into turn 10, quicker than anybody else around him. In fact, probably quicker than the 3 cars directly ahead of him.
Don't forget, he's not raced this car up till this weekend. Very different spec of car from the Honda Civic, the old-shaped Civic, the FK2 that he's been racing within the British Touring Car Championship. But up front, Belgium leads the way, but Britain is at the moment the focus of attention because Rory Butcher is charging to try to catch that second, third, fourth battle. Meanwhile, in splendid isolation, Gilles Magnus goes through. They're second and third with the margin between the top 2 now, 4.8 seconds. Gilles Magnus has just done the fastest lap of the race. Rory Butcher up to 5th has done the absolute best of anybody in the middle sector.
And really leaning on the MG coming through turn 2. You can see the way the back of the car hunkered down. But for Gilles Magnus, he's just stretched that. In the last lap, he took virtually a second. Certainly a half a second on the last lap, let's not exaggerate. Over second place, Gavrilov, Coronel tucked up in behind. The Russian not able to make any further progress. Homola behind him, but Rory Butcher in that MG. Maybe he's going to be the story of the race.
Well, you never know because he is hunting down Homola. He's got to find 2.6 seconds. I don't think he's going to be the race winner unless a safety car bunches them all up late race. 9 minutes are on the clock right now. Gilles Magnus leads, but I think for points for the nation's gold medal, it is going to be Russia with potentially a win and a second. There, you've got Butcher going through, and an absolute best first sector for the Czech Republic, released after a pit stop.
Don't know why, other than he's in clear air, but certainly indicates the pace in that car certainly was there. Shame they had to make the pit stop. Back. Let's have a little look back, and what are we looking at? So watching again, Rory Butcher. Was there something that we didn't catch first time around, or we're just watching the MG with its right rear dangling? But the MG seems to be able to hold its line rather than having to take a specific hit, hold those long, slow corners all the way through.
Rory in that car, a deal brokered by Rob Huff. Over the timing line goes Gilles Magnus then, the RACB Academy member, and the Belgian driver leading Russia by 4.4 seconds. And Gavrilov has just done the fastest lap of the race. He's pushing again.
And he's reduced the gap back to 4.4 seconds. So Gavrilov, whatever his issues or problems were, second, third lap, where he really looked like he was struggling, has refound his form, refound the speed. Real race going on here with these touring cars into turns 2 and 3. That's what I want to see. Clean racing.
But Kuril for the Czech Republic is a lap down here. He's the spoiler in the pack, number 59, Dawson Kuril. There's the Norwegian nation with the Alfa Romeo Giulietta Veloci, and that is Christian Seiferin who goes through to put a lap on Kuril, and now Spain will try and do the same thing. Gonzalo Andres in the Peugeot. Nice variety in terms of the cars on track here, but it's rather Audi dominated 1 and 2. Now within the sectors, the gap's widened a little bit in sector 1 on this lap between the two race leaders. We've only got 7 more minutes of the race to go, and Matto Homola is having another push to get onto terms with Coronel now.
Yeah, Coronel sort of lost contact with Garolov. He was all over him. At one point looked like he was going to take that second place away, but then Garolov, I don't understand whether he just didn't have tire temperature and he just had no confidence. Now that they've been running for, well, they're on their 10th lap. Again, spots of rain falling around the circuit, nowhere near the biblical proportions that we had this morning, but indicative of what possibly is in store for the GT race later this afternoon.
Some crude maths would suggest that at the moment it will be 47 points to Russia, 45 to Belgium, and the bronze medal would go the way of Slovakia. So for Belgium to win the gold, we need to get another car between the top two. So Tom Coronel, who's been dropping back 1.3 seconds adrift, is still the best option that Belgium has of taking gold.
Yeah, and Magnus is doing all he can for his nation. Nothing more he can do. It's out of his hands. What Garolov and Coronel might do, but at the minute, Coronel 1.3 seconds behind Garolov in second place.
This is Jessica Backman getting ahead of Zhendong Zhang going through turn 1. Out of the Curva Grande down now towards turn 4. So a place gained for Sweden. That puts her up into 9th place. Together they run. Now, Gavrilov is still pushing. He's done another absolute best in the first sector. Fastest lap, still Belgium, Gilles Magnus. As you look at Jim Carto ahead of Norbert Kish, that therefore is Hong Kong ahead of Hungary, ahead of Sweden. Jessica Backman next up there in the Hyundai.
I don't know if she's had contact, or that's just a part of the bodywork just broken away itself. Nevertheless, she's running in 10th place. Gap between first and 10th is 17.5 seconds, but she's only just under 2/10 behind 9th place Zhang in the MG.
So what have we got left? 5 minutes plus a lap, don't forget, at the end of the time. Through they pour. Norbert Kish there with the Alfa Romeo, the older spec car, the Hungarian double European truck racing champion, but multiple one-make saloon champion in Hungary before he went to the big rigs. So Kish is in 8th place, all over the back of the Honda of Jim Carto as they come now out of turn 11, and the Alfa Romeo gets up the inside. Norbert Kish tries to squeeze through, can't quite do it there.
And he was given a bit of room in the process, and in doing so may well have compromised the exit, the Honda's exit. So up into turn 14. Is it getting damp up there? They all look possibly a little bit unstable, a bit squirrely.
Norbert Kish has spent the entire weekend thinking, I'm really low in a race vehicle this weekend. A real contrast from the trucks. Over the line comes Jessica Backman, and she is on the charge.
Absolutely, got great straight line speed. That's the second time she's passed a car virtually on consecutive laps down into turn 2, and makes it look really easy. And that's not an easy part of the track to effect a pass unless you've got good straight line speed.
So Backman gains a place. It was Norbert Kish 4 corners back who was on the attack against Hong Kong, but it's all unravelled for him. Gets spots of rain on the lens. Now look at Homola. He is closing on the Netherlands now. Slovakia catching Coronel. Fastest lap of the race, Gavrilov last time. It's still hovering around the 4-second mark, but Gavrilov is pushing, but it might be too little too late to win the race, but he's going to win the medal. He's going to win the gold, seemingly, as now you're on board with Jessica Backman, and there out wide goes Jim Carto in the Honda.
So we've seen great speed from Jessica Backman. So up the hill into turn 8. Again, front wheel drive, just got to do all your braking in a straight line. You can't turn when you're turning the steering wheel. And through turn 9, then another big breakdown into this sort of 180-degree turn 10 into watch the Honda runs very, very wide. Again, the rain just beginning to fall on the windscreen. Coming down into turn 11, hard on the brakes. So traction out of here is going to be vital. China runs wide. Oh no, there's the MG off the track.
That's the Chinese nation's car. Zhendong Zhang beached.
Is that going to be it's a bit late in the day, only 3 minutes of the race remaining. Probably there it is, going off into turn 10, and it's not going anywhere.
No, if the drivers behave under a double waved yellow, they should be able to get away with that. It's when they don't slow down enough. Yellow flag is being shown. Safety car. It's going to be safety car. Well, don't forget, it's 2 3/4 minutes plus a lap, so they might just get away with 1 lap at the end.
got to drive that car to safety if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know where the safety vehicle will be. I don't know how good. Well, I think they're running out of time even with an extra lap. So that car's got to be retrieved to safety, and we've got 2 minutes 32 seconds plus a lap. If they can get one final lap in racing context conditions, that'll be a very good effort indeed by the recovery team.
So our second safety car period, there is the safety car. But the trouble is you've got to get everybody behind it before you can do the work. And the safety car's at pit out.
I think time is going to work against this.
Yeah.
There's the safety car. It's getting pit lane exit, and the line of cars is still to make its way into the infield, the stadium area here at Vallelunga.
But there is the snatch vehicle, and there's the access point. So, as soon as possible, they can get that on the way. But it is going to be tight, no question.
It's going to be another exceptionally slow safety car lap, I would imagine. There's a safety car just leaving the pit lane at the top of picture. So the snatch vehicle is prepared, so it's got to make its way through the gravel trap, attach the MG to a hook or whatever. It will not be a crane up, it'll be just a tow out. But towing in sand or gravel is not easy.
Right, the snatch vehicle is moving. So the instruction has been given. Race order, Belgium ahead of Russia, ahead of the Netherlands. In terms of the medals, we're looking at the moment at Russia, Belgium and Slovakia. Russia had a bronze in drifting. What about Belgium? This would be a first Belgian medal. And who's third? Slovakia, likewise. So there are the lights flashing on the safety car. Everybody now scooped up behind.
Slow down. Give the chance to get there. Well,
personally, I can't see it's restarting. But
no, I think you're probably right. I mean, that was just a little error of driving, and unfortunately, the penalty is you're out of the race. So slow the field down, give the recovery team a chance. But we're down to 30 seconds plus a lap. So when they come across the start-finish line to go on to the next lap, that will be the final lap.
It will, but the car's nearly out of the way.
It is, so it could be a racing lap as the final lap. So good job by the recovery team yet again.
Oh,
slow the whole field down. Look, I mean, they're barely at walking pace.
Yeah, might just get away with this, mightn't we? Oh. Well done, race officials.
This will be a nervous moment for Gilles Magnus. All of a sudden, that nice, comfortable 4.34 second lead he had over Garolov has vanished, and this is going to be stand up and deliver time for Belgium, or for Russia for that matter.
But safety car in this lap, it will be a one-lap blast to the line then. So the medals are going to be decided effectively on a one-lap shootout, because with them all bunched up, this is where all sorts of things could kick off. It's not unheard of in touring car racing for things to happen on the last lap, you know.
I think it's last corner, let alone last lap. David, I mean, you're talking about touring cars, not motor racing.
Right then, the Chinese entry sadly is out of the race, but we are going to have one more lap then. The regulations for the touring cars, time plus a lap. Well, we have hit the time, but the lap is coming up. Rory Butcher had dropped back in the MG, but he's caught right onto the coattails now of Mato Homola. So there you've got Belgium, Russia, Netherlands, 1, 2, 3, 4th Slovakia, 5th Britain, 6th France. Gilles Magnus gets ready to sprint away.
I think you're going to have to keep an eye on Rory Butcher on place 5. He was working that car very hard in the safety car intervention to get temperature into his tires. He fancies a pop at Homola for that 4th position.
He does indeed. And what about Coronel? Can he have a go back at Gavrilov? The answer is no, because that gap has widened, look, as they come out of turn 14. Magnus using all of the road, so Belgium going for a race win. But what about a gold medal? That is going Russia's way. Netherlands 3rd, Slovakia 4th as they go across the line. 5th is Britain. This is Coronel's view as they started this last lap. He was 4/10 of a second back, so unless Gavrilov makes a mistake, I don't think he's going to get by. Jessica Bachmann there is 8th on the back of Hong Kong. Green flags all the way around the circuit. Look, Coronel's close on at turn 4.
Touch the back of the Honda.
Kato goes out wide. Kato goes off, way out over the runoff.
And that was a definite assist from the Swedish-driven Jessica Bachmann in the Hyundai, so that will be looked at also.
Here they come down towards turn 7. Coronel actually has caught up onto the tail of Gavrilov. Homola is going with him, and as they turn their way now up out of turn 7, we've got half a lap to go. If Coronel sticks his nose in, that could suddenly change the whole medal table out of this race.
Too far back at this point into turn 8. not the concern, the danger for Magnus is that he doesn't need to leave anything on the table that would give Garolov the chance to slump up alongside either the long way round or the short way round. Back down into turn 10. Coronel able to hold that tighter line into turn 10, and he's making ground. Is there contact? Slight contact on that. That's
not contact in touring car terms. That's fine. That's barely a touch. Coronel third, coming out of turn 11 then. Gavrilov now having to really defend here because it's not only for second place in the race. He gets a tap in the tail and gets sideways. It's for a gold medal. Coronel collapses up the inside of him. Here comes Homola as well. It's still Gavrilov just ahead. Rory Butcher's in the mix as well. Belgium is going to win on the road, but anything could happen for second. Look at Rory Butcher around the outside. He's gone from 5th to 4th to 3rd. Rory Butcher for Britain accelerates towards the line. Gavrilov is struggling. Belgium will win the race. Second across the line, it is just Russia to win the gold, and Britain takes 4th in the race. A brilliant last couple of corners for Rory Butcher, and it was Coronel's zealotry that triggered it all.
I'm not surprised. I had my eye on Rory Butcher. I thought he was going to try and do something outrageous. He did, and he got 4th place, and he wasn't, a car length away from getting on the podium.
There you go, proper touring car racing over the last few corners, gloves off, elbows out, but a brilliant drive by Gilles Magnus, and excellent job done also by Klim Gavrilov, doing enough to consolidate the place to win the gold for Russia.
Yeah, and bear in mind, he was unhappy. The early phase of this race, he didn't look like he had a car that gave him confidence. He dropped back from the race leader Magnus, then it all came back to him, but able to make a charge, but not the benefit of the safety car intervention meant that everybody was packed up together. But Magnus did it absolutely perfectly. He controlled the pace. He got on the throttle when he wanted to. He had the advantage on that final lap, and unfortunately Garolov wasn't able to challenge. But the big excitement for me was coming from Rory Butcher, coming from 5th around the outside, almost made it 3rd place. Gets to be satisfied with 4th.
Absolutely, on top of a good touring car season in his home nation this year. Well done, Russia, then. Klim Gavrilov, first year of car racing.
Very impressive.
In this company, that's quite something.
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of stars coming out of countries that are not had been considered traditional motorsport as maybe we think about as in Western Europe, and that was a young man, 19 years of age.
John Filippi there, wriggling through the pack. First time he's led. But
maybe it's a bit of a rush to get back to the pit lane. Maybe it's something. There's a reason to.
It's lunchtime.
In Italy, it would be at lunchtime, just after 2 o'clock.
The Chianti is getting cold. Right, there is the gold medalist, Klim Gavrilov for Russia. Excellent performance in, as John's made the point, a car with which he didn't seem 100% happy.
No, he looked very nervous in those opening 2-3 laps. Lost any chance of getting on terms with Magnus. That gave Magnus that comfort zone, but it all disappeared. Here we go. This is the last few moments. Watch Rory Butcher on the, just goes all the long way, almost, he gets up alongside Tom Coronel, but Coronel is wily and cute enough to know that if I just let my Honda run sufficiently wide, I'll be able to consolidate my 3rd position.
So 47 points to Russia, Belgium 45, Slovakia 29. They're the medalists at the end of the Touring Car Cup within the FIA Motorsport Games. Great action delivered, and it's a shame that we had the safety car period at the start, but that one at the end perhaps did all sorts of things. So with the leaden skies looming over turn 14, the fans get ready for the last race on track, which is going to be for the GT cars, the GT Cup's main race, the grid being published in the last few moments in anticipation. And in the second touring car race, it is a win for Belgium with 2nd Russia, 3rd the Netherlands. So that's the top 3 in the race. But remember, medals are on points across the 2, like a mini championship. The race is Belgium, Russia, Netherlands 1, 2, 3. Great Britain 4th, 5th Slovakia, France 6th, ahead of Sweden, Lithuania, Hong Kong, and the top 10 rounded out by Latvia. Hungary 11th, 12th Norway ahead of Spain, Q8, and after a pit stop, the Czech Republic taking 15th position. We lost, of course, China, New Zealand, Italy, Germany, and America even before the race had begun. Mason Filippi was out beached in the gravel with damaged suspension. So lively racing as we expected from the touring cars. There is the disappointment, if you like, in the results for those nations that didn't finish or even didn't get to the start in the case of the USA. But well done to Gilles Magnus for winning the race. Well done to Klim Gavrilov for Russia, taking that gold medal from Belgium. and Slovakia. And there is confirmation of the gold medalist. Klim Gavrilov's car at the foot of the podium. And for Team Russia, a delighted man. Drove sensibly, kept out of trouble, and if he did feel that that car wasn't 100%, drove as best he could around the problems, and a very, very impressive weekend this young guy has had.
So a big future, I suspect, certainly in the world of touring cars, if that's where he wants to focus his career. I don't know what other options he have maybe considered. Maybe he's had a go at single-seaters and sort of stalled out on that.
First year of car racing, fresh out of karts, so it's been impressive.
So he's done single-seater racing then before he came into touring cars. I mean, being a kart's a single-seater.
Count that. Gavrilov, delighted man. And he will head shortly to the top of that podium.
And is that a Russian anthem, or is that just something very Russian-orientated?
It's our Motorsport Games music, but let's hear from our gold medalist.
Congratulations, that smile on your face says it all. Well done for Russia.
Thank you, thank you. It was a hard race because we had some contacts with Tom Coronel, but I'm here, so that's it.
And you wiped the floor clean with them.
I know. It's just a race.
You're completely out of breath, aren't you? Too much excitement. How do you feel standing here?
Very great, very great. I'm very happy. Hey!
He's ready to get his gold medal. Congratulations.
There is Tom Coronel.
It was a little bit hard, but it's okay.
This is touring car racing.
Yeah.
You said it, Tom.
The old man still has a few tricks up his sleeve.
And still a great enthusiast, Tom Coronel.
And he's a proper competitor.
Yeah, yeah. You know, he got stuck in that race. Tom's nothing to prove. He's here for his country, but taking it seriously, but getting stuck in. Maximum commitment. And Tom Coronel taking third. But Klim Gavrilov then the gold medalist for Russia with a win and a second across the two races.
Now, Gavrilov would have had that moment coming through turns 12 and 13 where Tom Coronel did get a bit muscular, but he managed to keep his composure, didn't let it rattle him, and got that position second overall, but wins the gold medal.
Let's have a look at the highlights. Yellow flag out because Vettel was slow away. Look at the very back of the shot. Bang, there. Luca Enschler into the back as he tried to swerve around the Italian car. Everybody else got away, but on that opening lap, out came the safety car to bunch them all up, which was a relief for Fane Kahia, who got a tap in the tail behind that Matt Coronel. But he just about hung on to the plate. Worse was to come for him when the race restarted after the early safety car period. It wasn't just Vettel's car that needed moving, it was the three-wheeled Hyundai that also needed hoiking out of harm's way. So everybody bunched up behind the safety car. On the restart, Gilles Magnus accelerated away, but Gavrilov seemed to struggle early in the race. Mato Homola had third until Tom Coronel went round the outside. Brilliant move coming off turn 14. And then we lost Fane Kahia, who ran out of road coming through turn 3, and toboggan-like he speared across the road a complete passenger. Thankfully didn't hit anything solid, and even though he had all of that momentum, it wasn't enough to get him out of the gravel. He was lucky to get away with that as Rory Butcher dived up the inside of Jessica Batman and Jim Carto, and he kept on charging the MG like a different car in race 2. Rain fell mid-race, but it didn't affect things too much as Rory Butcher charged on round the outside heading into turn 10, leaning on Jim Carto, giving up that place, but continuing to fight all the way down to turn 11 as the Hyundai of Sweden got into the back of Great Britain. But Butcher kept on pushing, getting himself into the top 6, climbing into 5th, and would go even better after this incident brought out the safety car as his teammates in the other MG representing China plunged into the gravel. Zhendong Zhang out, safety car deployed, everybody bunched up, and it meant that we would get just a one-lap shootout. Zhendong Zhang was an interested spectator, just as was everybody else, as, first of all, Jim Carto ran way wide with a bit of help from Sweden down at the right at turn 4, and then Coronel got into the back of Gavrilov, knocked him sideways, gave him another little elbow as a helping hand, didn't force the issue, didn't treat that as a push to pass, so let Russia stay ahead, realising there'd been double contact, but what that did was delay Homola, so Butcher came around the outside of him, and he almost got Coronel for third on the line, as a win went away in Belgium. Second was Gavrilov, and he was 1/10 of a second ahead of Coronel for third place, Rory Butcher 4th, Mato Homola 5th, and John Philippi 6th for France. Fantastic drive by Klim Gavrilov as the race winner. This is the medal table with a gold and 2 bronze now for Russia, a gold and a bronze for Italy, and Gold for the Netherlands, Ukraine and Australia. We're counting, don't forget, within all of this, the digital, the karting and the drifting. So Russia on the medal table is ahead at the moment. You see the spread of nations that we've had taking the medals here as well. So the drivers make their way to the podium, and in a few moments' time, Klim Gavrilov, Gilles Magnus and Matto Homola will head up the steps. There are interviews to be done, there are photographs to be taken, and real star of Russian media he will become, Klim Gavrilov, as he gives his opinion on the race for the media there.
Thinking back the way the race finished, you're into touring car racing in the UK on a global basis. Is the UK Touring Car Championship the most competitive of those? Because what Rory Butcher did there, coming around the outside, was both opportunistic but skillful.
However I answer that question, I'm going to upset some people, aren't I?
Well, go ahead.
It's a different type of racing because of the success ballast, the option tyre, the semi-reverse grids and things like that. And I think because of that nature of the regulation, in order to succeed, you have got to be a very fierce driver. But the people that perhaps go into the international series race in a different way.
Slightly softer way.
Not necessarily softer, maybe a purer way, but also come from different backgrounds. So, you know, they might have achieved more in other categories. It tends to be national one-make racing straight into the BTCC. But if you can win in the British Championship, you've done well. If you can win in TCR internationally, you've done well. It's a more robust, a fiercer, more combative style of racing. I'd certainly say that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it came through to me that Rory Butcher, just watching his driving, he wasn't doing anything incorrect, but it looked like he really wanted it.
Yeah.
And the way he was using his car and using the racetrack and starting in the middle of the pack and getting all the way up almost onto the podium.
It's a good observation for sure, as we have welcomed Matto Homola, now Gilles Magnus, Slovakia and Belgium onto the podium. But it is Russia then that takes gold in the Touring Car Cup in the FIA Motorsport Games, and you can see what that means to Klim Gavrilov, who climbs the steps, congratulates Matto Homola and Gilles Magnus, and with the biggest flag I think anybody has brought onto the podium. He is a very proud gold medalist, and we'll now have the national anthem.
A lot of emotion for the winner on the
well done, Klim Gavrilov, well done, Russia. And it's one of the nations that has representation across lots of disciplines. There are some countries here with only one, some across most of the 6 disciplines. You don't have to enter all of them, of course, and it's down to the ASN and the competitors, because many of them are funding this themselves, having to find a team to run the car. It's not being paid for by the ASN necessarily, certainly not by the FIA. So the teams and the drivers have to find a budget to do this. That's why there's lots of track time afforded to reward the effort. Slovakia receives bronze in the Touring Car Cup. Then the medal for Gilles Magnus for silver is prepared. And the Belgian driver with the Come2You prepared and run Audi S3 will be at the far end of the podium. The silver medal is about to be presented. Yokohama tyres they have all run on, and the Yokohama representation on the podium illustrates the commitment that the company has put into TCR, but prior to that and along with that, the World Touring Car Championship and the WTCR
Mr. Frederic Bertrand from
And so now
FIA.
from the FIA, Frederic
It's your
Bertrand
time
will
to
step
give
forward
the gold
for
medal.
the gold medal.
To the winner, Klim Gavrilov.
So
the
Klim
gold medal,
Gavrilov
Russia.
takes gold in touring car racing.
So compliments once again to the three
So
young
Klim
talented
Gavrilov
drivers.
with the gold medal,
So
with the
guys,
flag,
just wait a moment
and
to
he,
the
like all the
photograph
medalists, will
in
be
the
at the
stand
closing
in
ceremony,
the
of course, later on
doing
in
photo
the
for you,
day.
picture.
So Klim Gavrilov for Russia is the gold medalist here.
For the picture, the official picture of the FIA Motorsport
Everybody gets together on the
Games.
top step of the
Touring
podium.
Car Cup is there. Russia is the winner, and Belgium and Slovakia on the podium.
And thumbs up all round.
Ready for do the party. Just a moment.
So for the champagne to be sprayed. Next, delight for Russia. Belgium you've got a feel for, missing out by just 2 points. And Benelux colleague Netherlands so nearly changed the result. But Klim Gavrilov gets a soaking. He can cope with all of that as a gold medalist. Brilliant drive. And Gilles Magnus wins race 2. But the medal goes to Russia. Klim Gavrilov it is who takes gold for Russia in the Touring Car Cup in the FIA Motorsport Games here at Vallelunga. And so now the drivers head away from the podium. There is confirmation of the nations and the Touring Car Cup victorious for Russia, and it helps them on that medals table. Well done, Russia. Great action from touring cars here in the FIA Motorsport Games. More from GT Cars in a while. Bye.